Good morning, and we are live in my kitchen for the first time. And this is my little cafe kitchen. So this tiny little Victorian is kind of everything. We do everything in this tiny little thing. So it gets to be a little challenging to be able to cook in here because of all the voltages and the outlets, but we do a great job. And today we are going to cook Asure. And if you came into the cafe over the weekend, we had this pudding-ish sort of thing. In our case, and Asure, simply put, is called Noah's Ark pudding. And it was created in Turkey, and the legend has it that when God saved Noah from the flood, he gathered all of the dried fruit and nuts from around Mount Ararat, and he created this pudding. And it usually is made in October, but we're just going to kind of make it all the time. At least that's the goal. So it's actually a really healthy kind of sweet. So you kind of don't feel like you are eating something naughty because it has so many dried fruits in it. It has dried, some beans in it, and it has just a touch of sugar and some milk to make it a little creamy. So I'm going to kind of go through the recipe a bit. We've made a little modifications. We did this on Friday because I figured I should kind of do it first before I went live. I figured that could kind of be helpful, that I might know what I was doing. And I'm kind of glad that I did because the recipe had a ridiculous ratio between the water and the barley. So Allison and I read this recipe and it called for a half a cup of barley to 6 cups of water to cook it. And I had soaked a cup of barley. And I'm like, well, does that mean we need to add 12 cups of water? So we went with it. Totally wrong. It was a 6-to-1 ratio rather than a 3-to-1 ratio. So needless to say, after like 3 hours, it was still soup. And we had to strain it a bit. So we're going to cut back the water a little bit on this recipe. And then also the thing that we changed was the way that they infused the pudding with spices and apple. So in the original recipe, they wanted you to take a whole apple and poke the cloves into the apple and put that in with the barley while it was cooking with some cinnamon sticks to kind of infuse the recipe with the cinnamon, the clove, and the apple flavor. Well, that's just not enough cinnamon for me and enough apple for me. So we decided to add dried apples to the mix rather than having the essence of apple. We would rather have the whole freaking apple in cooking with the barley and everything else. So we did that, and we also added a teaspoon and a half of cinnamon and a half a teaspoon of clove so that we have it all mixed through rather than just the essence. So other than that, I've listed the original recipe here on the comments as far as the ingredients. And other than that, those are the only modifications that we did. So you're welcome to use the ingredients here or do your own. All right. First up, we're going to try to see if we can get this going. This is my first time cooking in this kitchen, so bear with me, okay? All right. So I've got 2 pots going here. We have 1 pot of water that I'm bringing to boil because we are going to put our dried cherries and our dried figs in there, and we're going to boil them for 3 minutes to get them soft. And I also have another pot here where we're going to slow cook our barley. So first off, I've taken a half a cup of barley and I've soaked it overnight, and I'm going to dump this in my pot. And we are going to go with 3 cups of water. So I'm going to get that going because I honestly do not have any idea how long this is going to take. And I hope it's not 3 hours like last time. So we've got that going, and then I have, as you can see, I have a whole assortment of dried fruits and nuts. The other part of the recipe asked us to simmer whole almonds for 10 minutes so we could peel the skins off. And I cheated this time and I got blanched almonds because that took forever. I understand the whole process of it, but yeah, I don't want to do that. So we have right now, our water is boiling, and I also changed out the raisins for dried cherries because I am a dried cherry girl. And so we are going to put dried cherries, and we're going to put our figs, and we're going to simmer these. We're going to boil these for 3 minutes. Let me check the time. All right, so at 10:08, I need to take these out. All right, and then we're bringing the barley up. We're going to let that kind of boil a bit and let that simmer. I also have, we have some rogue cherries. I also have my dried beans, or like my chickpeas, and I ended up having to get pinto beans instead of the northern beans because they just didn't have my northern beans. So we're going through what we got. I also have a half a cup of milk, and I also have a half a cup of sugar, and I have my spices all ready to go. So it isn't really a hard recipe. It just takes time. So next I'm going to take my apricots. We're not going to boil them. We're just going to stick them in some water, and they're just going to soak on their own. And don't drain the apricots because, I have to be practical because I don't have time to do all of the things. You sometimes have to take a little shortcut. So the apricots I have soaking. You want to save that water because you're going to need it. Now, as with Turkish recipes, they don't tell you how much water to soak your apricots. So they don't tell you how much water you're going to add later. So you kind of have to wing it. And in the recipe, it doesn't tell you how long to cook it for. It is just like cook it until it's done, because that's how Turkish recipes flow. They just go and you add a little of this and a little of this, and then when it looks like that, it's done. So this is why we didn't know how long to cook this stuff. All right. So let's see. We have another minute for our cherries. My barley still hasn't come to a boil yet. So needless to say, after last week's adventure, we've learned not to go against our best interest, because when we looked at it and said, wow, that 12 cups of water seems a lot, we didn't trust ourselves and went with the recipe. And when we let it cook for so long, we successfully burned the bottom of the pudding in the pot. And it is still soaking in the sink because we haven't been able to scrape off the dried fruit that have burned to the bottom. So don't do what we did. Don't go against your gut, because if your gut says don't put 12 cups of water, don't put 12 cups of water. All right. Let's get our nuts out of here. We are going to, where's my little strainer dude? Oh, here's my strainer dude. Okay. So we've got 3 minutes is done. We're going to strain that out. Whew, that's hot. Okay, I need a knife. Okay, I'm going to pick out, ooh, they're hot. My figs. They're hot. Crap. All right, well, we'll get them out of there. Maybe I'll use a spoon. Maybe that would be a better thing. All right. We're just going to leave our cherries there for right now. All right, our barley is starting to come up, and we're just going to simmer it. And halfway through, and again, I don't know what halfway through is. It says in the recipe, halfway through the cooking of the barley, you're supposed to add the apple and the spices. Find someone with a power washer and blast it out. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. So if anybody has a power washer, you know how to find me. All right, so the recipe says halfway through cooking the barley, you're supposed to add the apple and the cinnamon and the spices. I don't know what halfway through is because it doesn't tell you what it's supposed to be halfway through. So again, we sort of wing it. So I'm going to give it like 10 minutes while we're doing other stuff, and then I'm going to add the other things in. This is kind of how Turkish recipes flow. And I know that sometimes when I go and teach the cooking class at the culinary center, they're just like, well, how do we do this? And how do we know? I'm like, you just got to wing it. So it's really hard for some people who are very structured to kind of flow with Turkish recipes because there's no organization, I guess you would say sometimes. All right. And hopefully I'm right with this 3 cups. We did look online as far as how much water you should put with a half a cup of barley. And Uncle Google said 3 cups of water. So we're going to go with Uncle Google because Uncle Google knows everything. All right. So while that's going, I'm going to take the little hard tips of the apricots. I'm going to chop those off and get those out of the way. And then I'm going to chop these up to get them ready. All right. Ooh, they're still hot. All right, that is done. I'm going to chop these up into smaller pieces. Don't cut your finger. They're soft and slippery. Ooh, juicy. All right, that's the last of that. Ooh, let's not cut myself. That's done. This is coming up to a boil. All right, I am going to, because these dried apples are, I've lost an fig. Oh, well. These dried apples are a little bit big, so I'm going to chop these down so that they will be ready for that sort of halfway mark here. Okay. Let's chop these down so they're not so big in our pudding. Okay. Those are ready. Okay. We've got that. We've got our beans. We're good to go. Let me see. I have my almonds. Let's chop these down a little bit so that they're not so big and chunky. Okay. Now, get these a little chopped down. Oh my goodness, they're jumping and flying everywhere. I am making a huge mess. Who knew that blanched almonds would jump all over the place? Okay, that's as good as it gets. All right, my barley just came to a boil. We're gonna turn it down. Because we are in a crazy kitchen that does not actually have a stovetop, we're using lovely like $10.99 burner specials from Walmart because apparently the little cheapo burners from Walmart work better than the commercial grade burners with the voltage here because I kind of exploded one last week. So yeah, that was our other adventure, is trying to figure out what appliances work with the kitchen, because sometimes the house has other ideas of how you're supposed to utilize it. So yeah, kind of blew up the other burners. So we're not going with $100 burner sets. We're going to go with the $10.99. So if I blow it up with the voltage, then at least I know I can go to Walmart and get another $10.99 one. Yeah, and we're working on this side of the kitchen because we blow fuses on the other side the other day, and we haven't found the fuse box in order to turn the fuses back on. So it's a good thing it's like daylight because we have no lights in the kitchen right now because we haven't figured out how to do the fuses. So we love this Victorian. We love cooking in this Victorian as much as she makes it a little challenging. All right. So I've got that simmering. I don't know what the halfway point is, but we are going to stick our apples in. Oh, those are my steps. And then we're going to add our cinnamon clove in, and we're going to let that cook. All right. Let's let that go. I think that the cinnamon and the clove, it adds a little bit more of a richer color rather than the essence, and it kind of makes it a little warmer feeling. So that's kind of why I like to do that. All right, so now with my stuff here, my almonds here, And I have my apricots that I've been soaking. So I'm just going to take them out, but I'm going to save the water because that's what the recipe said. But I don't know if I have too much water or too little water, but I'm doing what the instructions said and putting this water aside. So let's cut these up. It really was a really nice pudding. It just feels good when you eat it because it just feels like it's a healthy little snack. And I get to use my nice little vintage sherbet glasses to put it in, so it looks pretty. Because you know me here at the cafe, I want things to look pretty and cute. All right. So we've got that going, so that's gonna cook a little bit. And then, what do I have to do? I have to add my milk. So I'm gonna add my milk. And I'm going to add my sugar. We're gonna give that a little stir. So the sugar is going to thicken it a little bit. And then I'm gonna add my beans. Let's see, and we're gonna add our nuts. Okay. Oh, we gotta turn this up a little bit because it just kind of stopped. All right, we're gonna do that. Okay. And our cherries and our apricots. So, and we're gonna let that stir. And that is pretty much it to, oh, I need my reserved water, but it already has a lot of water. I think I'm gonna go against what the instructions tell me and not add the extra water because there's still a ton of water. Because this whole water thing is making me a bit buggy. So, all right, got that, we've got that, and that is kind of it. So you're gonna cook that down until it gets thick because that's just how it flows. It's gonna get thick and glutinous because of the barley. And then when it comes out, you're gonna spoon it in to the little cups, sprinkle it with some nuts, some pomegranate seeds, and some pistachios. And that pretty much is it. And over in Turkey, what they do when they make Asure is they get a lot of, I don't know, you can get, bowls that give away bowls because they make a big batch of it and they give it away to all of their neighbors. And that's kind of what they do in October. And we're just going to try to have it all the time here at the cafe. The goal is to make it at least every other day to make sure that we have some and put it in the glasses so you can get it already portioned out. I don't suggest, if you're not going to just give it where people are going to eat it, just keep it in a bowl all ready to go. And then when you're ready to give it, put it in the containers and sprinkle it with the nuts and the crushed pistachios and add the pomegranate seeds last because the pomegranate seeds are going to will get off pretty quickly. They're the ones that are going to spoil faster than anything else. So make sure when you're going to give it, you don't prepare it all ahead of time and stick it in the refrigerator, with the pomegranate seeds because the pomegranate seeds will go sour before everything else. So plate the pomegranate seeds as the last thing before you bring it and you give it to people. So that is how that goes. And I am just going to hang out here at the cafe until this cooks and is done, which could be a half an hour. It could be 2 hours. I'm actually not sure how this is going to flow today because, we flow with recipes around here. So if you want to have some and not have to make it, you know where to find it. So come on over to the cafe this week and you get to try this batch right here because that's going to go out on the shelf tomorrow. Alrighty, I will see you later. Have a great Sunday. Bye.